Namaste. Welcome to the 20th video in the overall series and introduction to Sanatana Dharma. Today is the sixth and last video of the mini series, the Hindu concept of God, where I touch upon the concept of Vishwarupam that is unique to Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma. Because of this, I have as my virtual background Yashoda peering into the mouth of the infant Krishna, a beautiful tale from the Bhagavatam. The thumbnail of the video obviously is Krishna's Vishwarupam as shown to Arjuna as part of the Bhagavad Gita. Let's proceed further. As I mentioned a little while back, possibly Hinduism is the only faith, the only culture which has the concept of Vishwarupam, where creation in its entirety is seen as divine and is in fact seen as an embodiment of the divine. In especially Abrahamic faiths, God exists separately from creation. He's not part of it. So he's separate from it. God is male, is separate from it, sits above it, and watches over everything. Hinduism doesn't say that. It says, Tat Srishtva Tadeva Anupravashat. This sentence is taken from the Vedas. We touched upon this a little while back. He created and entered it in such a way that he is not limited to it or by it. The example that we had taken earlier also, that of the sun reflecting in pots of water. If something happens to the pot of water, nothing happens to the sun. So that the sun is for Brahma, the pots of water are various aspects, various components of creation, so to say. This is a very unique concept that is limited to Hinduism, that everything is Parabrahma, everything is divine, it is an embodiment of the divine. This is the basic core concept of Vishwarupam. Now, where do we have this? Let us take the Rigvedam. We touched upon the Narayana Suktam in the earlier video. It starts off saying Sahasra Sirisham Devam Vishwaksham Vishwashambhuvam Vishwamevedam Purushaha Tad Vishwam Upajivati. There are statements like this. So you see this again in the Purusha Suktam. It starts off saying Sahasra Sirisha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. We discussed some time back that the word Sahasram, can mean thousand or actually infinite. So Sahasra Sirisha basically means an infinity of heads. Sahasraksha, infinity of eyes, all seeing, right? Sarvadarshi, as said in the Vishnu Sahasranamam. Sahasrapat, infinity of feet, so goes everywhere, is present everywhere. This concept of infinity is actually mentioned in the Rigvedam. Then if we come to the Yajurvedam, there is the very famous Shatarudriyam, which is also called the Rudra Namakam Chamakam. There, Rudra, a name of Shiva, is said to be everywhere. I'll touch upon this a little later in the, I think, the next slide as well. But literally everything, anything is described as Shiva. In fact, it starts off saying that there were millions, billions, countless Shivas who came out of the primordial Shiva and formed creation. Even in the Mahabharata war, Arjuna says at the end that whenever I point my bow towards somebody to kill them, I see that there is somebody standing there with a trident who's actually doing the killing. Who is this? So this infinity of being, this infinity of divinity is mentioned in the Rigvedam, it is mentioned in the Yajurvedam. In the Bhagavatam, we have the very famous story of Krishna eating mud. He said to the other kids, come and tell Yashoda, mother, Krishna has eaten mud. When she peers into his mouth, she sees the whole of creation in that mouth. In fact, in the Bhagavatam, there is one more episode before this where Krishna was sleeping in his cradle and he just yawns. At that point of time, also, Yashoda saw creation in his mouth. Now, in both these instances, she has that vision for a fraction of a second. He immediately, let's say, does prayog of his Maya on his mother so that that Leela continues. Because if the mother suddenly says that, oh, this is God, this is not my child, that Leela, the divine play is no longer there. That is the reason that darshan, that vision is offered to his mother only for that fraction of a second or for that few seconds. Immediately she is overcome by Krishna's Maya again and hugs him as her child. That is a beautiful Leela that is given in the Bhagavatam. In the Mahabharatam, there is an episode where before the Kurukshetra war, Krishna tries to go as a messenger and tries to make peace between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. At that juncture, the Kauravas try to capture him. So he takes a huge form. This is there, and obviously, as part of the Gita Upadesham, he shows a never shown before Vishwarupam to Arjuna. So we have the Veda, then we have the Purana, which is a Bhagavatam, then we have the Mahabharata, which is an Itihasa. Then the Vishnu Sahasranamam, again as part of the Mahabharatam. The first word itself of the Vishnu Sahasranamam is Vishwam, creation, infinity, entirety, is Vishwam, Vishwam Vishnuhu. These are the first two namams that we see in the Vishnu Sahasranamam. In fact, we can possibly even take them as a statement. Vishwam Vishnuhu, the infinity is Vishnu, the entirety of creation is Vishnu. This is another example of Vishwarupam. So again, if you notice, we have the concept given in the Veda, expounded further in the Purana, Itihasa. That is how the entirety of concepts that we see in Hinduism exist. There is a very brief basis in the Vedam that is expanded further so that it is easily understood by normal everyday people and not necessarily very heavily enlightened beings in the Puranas and the Itihasas. Now, going further, this concept of Vishwarupam can be extended to any Vedic deity. So, I mentioned a little while back in the Shatarudriyam, thieves, charioteers, trees, everything is referred to as Shiva or Rudra, in fact. I'm not joking, even thieves. There are various kinds of cheats. There are various kinds of professions. A blacksmith, a potter, all of them are said to be Rudra. In fact, it is one of the statements, Gopa Adrushan, Adrushan Udaharya. It basically means cowherds and those who carry water early in the morning also see Rudra as part of the sun, as the sun. So, again, an egalitarian concept of Hinduism that divinity is not restricted to any particular class or a person. Divinity is accessible to everybody. This is a very beautiful concept of Hinduism that I've touched upon a little while back also. Now, very often you will see the sun and the moon, and occasionally, like for example, in the case of somebody who has three eyes, like Shiva or Lalita Devi, Gayatri Mata, for example, the third eye is referred to as Agni. So, the sky is referred to as Vishnu's Nabhi. I'll touch upon that in, I think, one or two next slides. So I think most of us have heard this name, Vyomkesh Bakshi, right? A very famous detective, fictional detective. That's actually Vyomakesha. Vyomakesha basically means who he has the sky as his heir, one of the meanings. That way, different aspects of creation are said to be different aspects or different angas of divinity. Another way that we see divinity everywhere. So if I take the example of the Vishnu Sahasranamam specifically, as I said, the first word of the Vishnu Sahasranamam is Vishwam, which can mean infinity, creation, the universe, everything. So Vishwam, Vishnu, you can take those as two namas, or you can take them as actually a sentence, a vakya, that the Vishwam, the entire universe that you see is Vishnu. This shloka comes before the actual Vishnu Sahasranamam starts off. It says Bhuk Padav. So what it basically means is Bhuk Padav. The feet of the Lord are is the earth forms the feet of the Lord. Bhuk Padav is a Nabhi Vyat. The Nabhi or the navel is the sky. Asuho Anila, breath is the wind. Chandra Suryocha Netri, again, the sun and the moon are the eyes. Karanavashaha, basically it means the ears form the directions. Shiro Dyauhu, Dyuloka is said to be something beyond or higher than the Akasha or the sky, so to say. Shiro Dyauh, his head is the Dyuloka. Mukham api dahano, Mukham dahanaha, Agni is in his mouth. Yasya vaste abdhi basically means abdhi is water. Waters form his garments. This is one example. This is not a complete shloka. It is just the first two lines of a particular shloka. But again, an example of the universality or the universal presence of divinity, the infinite nature of divinity. Go further. Now we come to a slightly, let's say, maybe a scientifically little more interesting part. Why? We'll come to that. In the Bhagavad Gita, the 11th chapter is called the Vishwarupa Sandarshana or Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga, where at the beginning, Arjuna says, okay, Krishna, you've told me many things till now. I want to see that infinity, that infinite nature of yours. I want to experience that infinite nature. Kindly show me your infinite form. That is when Krishna shows his infinite form, the Vishwarupa. This is a pretty interesting chapter from a day-to-day perspective. Why? There are two parts of this chapter which came to the father of the atomic bomb's mind, Robert Oppenheimer. So when he saw the Trinity test, the first nuclear explosion, the test, not the actual unfortunate bombing in Japan, but when he saw the actual first test, which is called the Trinity explosion, there were two aspects which came to his mind from the Bhagavad Gita. The first is this: Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhavet Yugapat Utthita Yadi Bhav Sadruti Sasyat Bhasastasya Mahatmanah. This is an actual shloka, this is a complete shloka from the Bhagavad Gita, which basically says if 1,000, again, Sahasra can possibly mean infinite or 1,000, let's say. If a multitude of suns were to burst forth Divi in the skies, Bhavet Yugapat basically means at once, Utthita. If a multitude, thousands, infinite suns were to burst forth into the skies at one go, possibly that may equal, again, it is not equal, possibly that may equal the glory of the divine, of the Mahatma, of the divine, not Mr. Gandhi. Mahatma is referring to divinity here, of the ultimate. This is one of the verses that came to Robert Oppenheimer's mind when he saw the fury of an atomic bomb. Then the other thing which came to his mind was this: Kalosmi lokakshayakrit kalaha asmi lokakshayakrit pravruddha lokan samahartum iha pravruttaha. He very pithily translated that as, now I am become time, destroyer of the worlds. Fair enough. So it basically, so in the when he's telling Arjuna and he's showing this Vishwarupam, Arjuna is actually frightened. So a warrior of Arjuna's prowess trembles when he sees that infinite nature of Parabrahma of Krishna, right? So he says, what is this form? So then Krishna actually says this, that, see, I'm showing you this where he sees, so for those of you who have seen the Mahabharata serial, the serial that used to come on Doordarshan, which was telecast again recently, there is a scene where a lot of people keep going into Krishna's mouth, right? This actually, so Arjuna actually sees that Bhishma, Drona, Jayadratha, he sees like moths going to a flame. He sees a lot of people entering Krishna. So there Krishna says that I now have become time. I consume things. I am the ultimate consumer, right? There is no greater consumer of things than time, right? Everything goes when its time comes. Time consumes everything. Time is inexorable. It is relentless. It cannot be overcome, so to say, right? So that is where Krishna says, Kalosmi lokakshayakrit pravruddha lokan samahartumeha pravruttaha. Again, this is part of a shloka, the first two lines. Again, the motto of the Indian Air Force, Namasprasham Diptam, touch the sky with glory, is the translation that is given there generally. As far as the Indian Air Force is concerned, is taken from the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna shows as Vishwarupam. Namasprasham Diptam is the motto of the Indian Air Force. The last slide for today. So I had, pardon me for being maybe a little too, not maybe, actually presumptuous, ambitious. One of the desires I had was to see this Vishwarupam. So now, if I ask myself that, yes, can I see this? Can you, I, normal people see this Vishwarupam? The answer is yes. Remember that egalitarian concept of Hinduism. Nothing, as far as the divinity, as far as the divine is concerned, is restricted to anybody. We just need to have that worthiness. Remember the Avengers movie, Thor, the hammer. You need to be worthy to wield the hammer, Mjolnir, if I remember correctly. So if you are worthy, nothing in Hinduism or nothing in creation is actually restricted to you. This is a very egalitarian concept that is available in Hinduism, and that is available in creation actually. That also remember this statement from there's this book. I'm forgetting that he's a Portuguese philosopher of the modern world, The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho. There's a statement in that, right? If you want something really badly, the entire universe conspires to make it true. This statement was taken and I think copied verbatim in Om Shanti Om, also the movie. Tumse maine itna shiddat se chaha hai, something like that. That is a fact of creation, that if you want something really badly and you work towards it. So that is the unsaid portion of it that is assumed, that you really want something extremely badly and you work towards it, at least as far as the divine is concerned. It is never denied to you. You just need to work towards it over a sufficient period of time. So, Vishwarupam can be seen by everybody. How? Obviously, this is not something visible to the naked eye or to the material, the gross eye, the physical eye, right? In the Bhagavad Gita itself, Krishna says, so when Arjuna says, Krishna, show me your universal form, your infinite form, Krishna says that you cannot see this with your normal eyes. I will give you divine vision. So the statement that he says is, Divyam dadamide chakshuhu. I give you the divine eye or a divine vision. That is when Arjuna sees this universal form. So one very important thing to notice is, please understand that it is not something that Krishna took upon at that point. So it is not a form, a dress that Krishna wore at that point of time. The universal form, the Vishwarupam, exists in perpetuity. The entire creation is the divine. It is just that we are not able to see it. So it is not that it does not exist. It is that we are not able to visualize it. That is the concept of Vishwarupam. So it is always there. It has always been there. It is there. It will forever be there. It is just that we cannot see it. That is the reason Krishna did not say, I am taking this verbatim, I think, from a speech by Sri Sharma. He did not say to Arjuna, please, Sri Samavendu Sharma, he did not say to Arjuna, please wait, I will wear something and come back. He said, I give you that divine vision by which you can see something, by which you can see my form, let's say maybe my true form, so to say. That way, and he also says in the Bhagavad Gita that just by performing yajnas, by danas, charity, to put it crudely, by Vedic knowledge, you cannot see this. It does not mean that don't do these things. It basically means these are but milestones in the ultimate part to attain something called Ananya Bhakti. Ananya Bhakti. So remember again that statement in the Vishnu Sahasranam, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Ye Jana Paripasate Tesham Nityabhyuktanam Yogakshemam Bahamyam. Basically, what Krishna says is, those who think upon me without giving heed to anything else, personal benefit, family, friends, the world, nothing, who only think about me in entirety, I take care of their benefit. Yoga, Shema. Yoga basically means getting something. Shema basically means what we have being staying in place. So these are the only two things we stay. We discussed this statement some time back. Yoga, Shema, Mahamyaham. Motto of the LIC also, Life Insurance Corporation of India. So that Ananya Bhakti basically means the devotee sees nothing but the divine in whatever form. It is not about Krishna, it is not about one particular form, whichever form you like. You do not see anything but that. When a person reaches that state, somebody might call it a Jnana Marga, somebody might call it a Bhakti Marga. At the ultimate peak level, everything is the same. So when somebody reaches that state, they are able to see this. They see the entirety as nothing but the divine, and there they attain that worthiness where they can see the Vishwarupam. So let me end this with a small story. We might have touched upon this some time back. Shuka, the son of the sage Vedavyasa, is said to be in a state of this. So there is a state where Jivan Muktas, Ramana Maharshi, they are said to exist in a state which we can't even visualize, where they see everything as the divine, right? So one day, Shuka was just going through the forest, and he, being in that state, is not concerned with material things like, am I clothed, is it hot, is it cold, what dress am I wearing, what food am I eating, nothing like that. He was just going through the forest without a care for anything. He was just absorbed in the divine. His father Vyasa was running behind him saying, my dear son, there were some divine beautiful beings, beautiful women who were bathing in a pond nearby. When they saw Shuka passing by, they knew that this was Shuka, the great divine being. So they immediately came out. Without dressing up, they saluted him. When they saw Vyasa walking by, they immediately saluted him, but after wearing their dress. So they immediately grabbed clothes, put them on their bodies, and saluted Vyasa. He actually got a little offended. He got a little irritated, angry. He said, see, my son is a youth. He's in the prime of his youth. When he passed by, You did not have a care. You just saluted him the way you were. But when I, an old man, actually passed by, you took care to dress yourselves and then saluted me. Why is that? So the response they gave was, your son wouldn't ask this question, in a way. In a way, what they said was, your son wouldn't ask this question because he's beyond these concepts. He has reached a state where he is beyond these concepts of male, female, uh, rock, anything, nothing. He sees everything as Parabrahma. He revels in that divinity. You, sir, while being respectable, with all due respect, have not yet reached that state. You still perceive dualities in the world: hot, cold, good, bad. You see these dualities which exist in creation as part of the material world. Your son has progressed beyond this particular stage, and that is the reason we didn't care about that. When a person reaches that state, the state of an avadhuta, a state of ananya bhakti, that is when they get the worthiness to perceive, behold the Vishwarupam. Please take care. This is where I end my video for today. Take care. Namaste.